Hey everyone, welcome back to my recorded lessons. I think today's will be shorter, but I don't know. I just talk and then they end up being 20 plus minutes. So we'll see. Today we are going to be talking about um, providing text evidence. So your assignment that's due this coming Tuesday, not Monday because it's Labor Day, so it'll be Tuesday. That's September 8th. The assignment that you all have dealing with those news ELA articles, and you have to find the central idea. And I asked you to take text evidence to support whatever central idea that you said that the article had. Okay, so you picked a central idea after you read the article. That's what you thought it was mainly about. And then I asked you to find some text evidence in the article to support that. If you're having trouble with that, go back and watch the last video. It had the little brain pop snippet at the end. It was about 4-minute long brain pop video, which I think made it pretty clear too, but I also talked a little bit about it earlier in the video. So we're going to talk about that, and we're also going to talk about the method that you use to write a paragraph. So last year, my classes, I told you could use any method that you had previously used. I was okay with that. I know some of you, it was RACE, or so race or races. I know that the one that I taught, I tried to just keep it super simple, was the C method. Okay, statement, evidence, explanation. Your statement was your answer. Your evidence was the actual quote that you were getting, okay, the quotation from the article or the essay or whatever. And then the explanation is you actually telling how those first two things connect. How does this evidence that you provided actually support the answer that you gave, the statement that you gave? All right. Surprise, I'm not surprised. Surprise, they want to introduce a new kind of formatting for how you write a paragraph. Now, this is something that we are trying to do for the whole school, the whole district, so that everybody's kind of on the same page. I hope that it works, because if it is district wide, that means that you'll be getting kind of simplified versions of it in elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and you won't have to do this learn a new method every year, because I know that's crazy. Okay, if it's really confusing to you, I'll tell you, a lot of you did really well last year with the C method. It's kind of the same thing. Okay, so don't let this completely throw you off. All right, but let's get into it. So you can see here from week 2, this is the last lesson that I recorded. You can click on that to go back and rewatch that. Reminder about daily participation, finding the central idea. And today is about providing text evidence. It's not posted yet because I'm doing it right now. Okay. Real quick, so I'll click over to the documents because that's really where we want to be today. All right, so here's the previous 2 lessons. Here is for today's lesson, okay? So, citing evidence, and these could really go either way. Let's just start here in the middle, though. Citing evidence. Remember, you're using the author's exact words. I know that I personally really tried to ingrain that in your all's minds. When you're providing evidence, you're not summarizing, okay? Now, there are situations where that might work, like when we were reading Hunger Games, if the whole entire chapter was about something, you might have to summarize the whole chapter. You obviously can't quote the whole chapter, but you probably could have found a good quote from that chapter to support your answer, right? So you could have had a quote and a little summary as well that could have been part of your explanation, right? So you want to use the author's exact words 98% of the time, okay? You want to use quotation marks, all right? That's where this paper over here, this document, comes into play because it shows you how to do that, all right? So you want to use quotation marks and you want to do them correctly, all right? And tell where you found it, all right? This information, where did you find it? You know, if it's in a short article, it won't be a page number. It would be like maybe in paragraph, blah, 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 or in the section titled blah, 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 right? So, but you still need to say where you're getting this information from. If you're using multiple articles, you know, you might have to say in the section titled blah, blah, blah of the article, and then you give the title of the article, it states, right? Here are some ways to introduce text. I know sometimes people get stuck in one way of introducing it. So you think, you know, according to the text on page, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you get stuck in that exact wording, then your writing is going to seem like you're a robot, okay? And that's not really what we want either. Okay, we want to get your voice, your student voice, through in your writing. All right, so here's just a few different ways. Again, it doesn't have to be any of these ways, but you do have to tell where you got it from. According to the text, on page blank, the author stated, the author wrote, as the author mentioned on page, in the blank paragraph, the author wrote, and one example of this in the text is, right? So those are just a few. Just trying to show you that there are options, okay? You don't always have to write the same thing. All right, going over to this document really quick, just because I already mentioned it. It tells you, and you can scroll, just for the record, okay? And I might be able to fix it to where you don't even have to scroll, but for now, it's not a big deal to scroll. It tells you if you wanted to break up a quotation, okay? You know, if you said, I'm trying to think of an example of when you would do this for cell phones are too distracting in class, said the author on page 4. They will never be fully integrated in schools. Okay, if you're breaking apart the quote, which you can do, then this is how you do it. You have your comma before, see, look, it's like comma, then the quotation marks, okay? And then you go into the who said it or according to whoever, then there's a comma, then there's a space, and there's quotation marks. The period would go inside the quotation marks, okay? This breaks it down. Okay, a comma or period should be placed inside the closing quotation marks. If you are not sure how to do it, this tells you. Okay, and if you are trying to give me evidence and I'm like, well, you didn't put quotes, I didn't even know you had a quote in there. And you're like, well, I didn't know, Miss Vickers, I didn't know how to do it. Okay, it's right here. It's why we're making these lessons. It's why I'm making them to where you can go back and watch them. Okay, even though we have the live meets. All right, so come back here, look at the documents. That's why I'm putting them on there. All right. Finally, this is the last thing. Now, it might take a minute, but it's the last thing we're going to do for the video today. ThinkCERCA. That is a program. You will be hearing it. You will be seeing it. Okay. It's kind of like Brain Pop or something. You know, it's like a resource for teachers and students. Okay. ThinkCERCA. So how to make an evidence-based argument. Now, I don't think that, like, for your current assignment, the one that you're using the news ELA articles for, I don't think that counter argument is necessary for that. Now, if you can find a way to work it in, you're certainly not going to be wrong. It would certainly strengthen your argument. And I think that maybe some of the articles that I posted, because I posted 6, remember, you only have to pick 2, But I think that some of those articles you could probably come up with a counter argument for within your paragraph. Okay. But some of them I'm not sure you could. I think it might be stretching it a little bit, right? The main thing that this ThinkCERCA method is trying to get you to do is to write more. So many kids get stuck writing, like if I did the C method, they get stuck with 3 sentences and then they're done. 3 sentences really is not enough for a paragraph, not a good 6th or 7th or 8th grade paragraph. Okay. It's a good start, but what I always told you all, and I know that I didn't have all of you all last year, but I'm going to say that a lot. Okay. So we're just going to have to get past that. What I used to always say is you have your statement, which is your answer. You have your evidence, which is the quote from the text, and then you have your explanation. Your explanation could be 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences long. You could have 2 pieces of evidence within the same paragraph, which means you're going to need 2 explanations as well. Okay, so you might have statement, evidence, explanation, all within the same paragraph, because the 2 pieces of evidence would both be supporting your answer, your statement. Okay. So anyway, I know that you all have, I believe in your science classes you use CER already. That's basically what the beginning of CERCA is. Okay, instead of statement, evidence, explanation, it's claim, evidence, reasoning. Okay, so state what you are attempting to prove, okay, what your answer is basically. Provide evidence from the text to support your claim. Not too different yet. Link your evidence to your claim. You're connecting these two. If you can't do this well, you probably didn't pick good evidence. Okay, if you can't tell me how the quote that you picked supports your answer, supports your claim, you probably didn't pick good evidence. And you might need to go back and think, is there better evidence? Okay, because these two should be linked, and don't assume that the person reading whatever you're writing knows that connection. Told the story last year too, but I remember even in college, I had teachers who would tell me, you need to explain this quote better. And I'd be like, isn't it obvious? And the answer is no, it's not really obvious. Okay. It was obvious to me because I wrote it. I knew why I included it, but my teachers didn't. Right? Anybody who was reading it didn't. They could maybe kind of guess, but they shouldn't have to guess. You tell them, right? Okay, then you have counter argument. Include at least one good reason why others might disagree or offer an alternative point of view. Now, for argument essays, that like the one we did last year, this is awesome. I have always kind of felt this way, that you could have a counter argument to every single argument that you have, right? Last year, what we did is we had a counter argument paragraph. So you had your statement and you had like different pieces of evidence sort of to support that, but you only had to do like one counter argument. Well, really, you could have come up with a counter argument for each statement that you made, for each reason that you gave. Okay. So I kind of love this for argument essays, that it's a part of basically every paragraph that you write. But again, for this assignment, I think it would be hard depending on the type of articles that you read. Because again, there's 6, you pick 2. Some of them not going to work out as much. And then the A of ThinkCERCA, all that is make sure that you're using language that is appropriate for the audience and occasion. So it's not necessarily that you have to write something else in your paragraph, but you need to make sure that you are, if you're writing it for me, it shouldn't sound like you're writing it to your buddy, right? And I know that I know I talked about it last year. Sorry, those of you that didn't have me last year. I really just feel bad doing that all the time. But I know that some kids would be like, Ms. Vickers, you already told us this last year. Yeah, well, probably about 50% of you forgot it. So I know I told this to at least some of you last year. But if you are trying to convince someone that you should not have uniforms in school, you should be writing to your principal. You should be writing to the Board of Education. Okay, you should be writing to your state government so that they could pass a bill so that you don't have to wear uniforms. Okay, or we have a dress code. So well, not right now, we don't, but you know what I mean. But you don't want to write it to your friends because your friends are going to be like, heck yeah, I don't want to follow a dress code. Some people do because they don't like worrying about what they're going to wear in the morning. But point being, you're not writing it to your classmates. Your classmates are not the ones that would have the power to make that change. The people who had the power to make that change would be principal, Board of Education, maybe state government, something like that. So you want to think about who you're addressing and really target what you're saying towards them. Okay? So, I just think that is a good addition, but it's not really something else you have to write in your paragraph, if that makes sense. Okay? Now, you don't have to be perfect at this because I just ran through it one time. Okay? I never expected anybody to be perfect at, the C method or anything after just seeing it one time. Okay? One thing I do want to say, notice in this citing evidence part here in the middle, there is no mention of I know this because. Don't do it. I'm talking to you. Don't do it. Don't write I know this because. That is so elementary school. Okay? It's definitely, and I had told you all this 1,000 times last year not to do it. People still did it. Don't write I know this because. All right? You don't want to put first person, I, me, my, that kind of thing. You don't want that. All right? Got it? Use these sentence starters if you're confused here. These right here in the middle. If you don't know how to start, use these. Don't say, I know this because. All right? All right. See you all in future recorded lessons. See you all in future live meets. And hopefully see you in person soon. All right. See you later.